I was still running anywhere from 40 to 50 miles a week, but I don't really remember any of that. I was just running to run. I would train for some stuff, then I would fall apart or whatever. Then at one point, I just told him, just keep me running. Just give me workouts and miles to keep me running, to keep my mind off this. And he did that. And that's what I was paying him to do.
It's Golden Hour Adventure Time, featuring everyday people doing extraordinary things. From the peaks of victory to the valleys of defeat, these are their stories. Now, from the back of the pack, your hosts, Justin and Robbie. Welcome to Golden Hour Adventures. Today, we have a special guest. And what I mean by special guest is we have Robbie Pike, the co-host of Golden Hour Adventures, is going to tell his story. So I know that you have heard everything that there is to know about me, but do you know who Robbie Pike is? Did you even know Robbie's last name was Pike? I don't even think you knew that. But today you're going to learn the story of Robbie. We're going to talk about how he got into running. He's an old school trail runner. He was there before the ultra boom. He rode the wave of the ultra boom. He fell off of ultra running. We're bringing him back with the Cowboy 200, but there's so much to talk about in between this setting of Cowboy 200 and Robbie running his first ultra in 2011. Oh, let's kick it off. But first, please go on to YouTube, like and subscribe. Leave a review on Apple, Spotify, 5 stars only. I don't even care if you like the podcast or if you don't like the podcast. If you hate the podcast,
leave a review.
5 is the worst one that you can give us. 5 will be awful for us. So if you give us a 5, that's going to be the worst review that we're going to get. If you hate the podcast, give us a 5. If you love the podcast, leave us a review and give us a 5. So anyway, enough about pumping out our podcast. Let's get to the story. Robbie, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, I sometimes I get nervous when I go on podcasts too. So I'm glad we share that little bit of nervousness. So it's fun. Well, so we've had I don't even know how many guests. I think we've had 150 plus episodes. I know we've done a lot of Tales from the Trails episodes. But I would be willing to say we've had probably 120 guests on this podcast. And everyone has told their stories. I've done a bunch of race recaps because I love to race. And, people know me well, I think, through either this podcast or social media. But we need to know Robbie Pike. So who is Robbie Pike?
I got asked this question on Sunday. And like when you put who is Robbie Pike, it makes it hard. And I had an answer then, and I still have an answer now. I'm a father, first and foremost. Yeah. 15-year-old, 14-year-old. God, I already aged her. She turns 15 in November. She just finished driver's ed today, passed her test.
Oh, no.
Her teacher, driver's ed teacher, was like, sent me a message like, thank you for working with your daughter so much. She only had to drive twice. And the first time he drove with her is like, I'm really done. We just have to do a few extra things next time. Friday is actually the last day, but today was her last day. She took her test today because she has volleyball tryouts tomorrow. So I'm actually a proud dad today because she finished up early, aced that test, and it's going to save me a whole lot of driving.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm going to be selfish. Her school's a little far away, so I want to be driving her to and for school anyways.
Awesome.
About my daughter. Yeah, dad, friend, family guy, podcast host. And you notice I'm putting runner towards the end.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to dig deep on is, you've told a lot of stories throughout these 150 plus episodes of, back in 2012 when this group of runners was running, and back in 2015 when you were out at Leadville every year, but it seems like running has kind of taken a background for you and other priorities have emerged. Why do you think that happened?
Uh, now where I'm at, in this journey that I took almost 3 years ago, I know why I'm at where I am now. But I'll start at the beginning. I was doing a personal training class, and I remember the instructor was like, when you work with clients, the best bang for your buck is running. And he didn't mean for weight loss. He meant for cardiovascular, mental toughness, grit, those things. He said, if you can get your clients running and they can get to be better runners and kind of fall in love with running, all the work that you will do with them will show up a lot easier. And I was really like intrigued, like, what do you mean? I grew up in the era of we had to run when we did something bad in sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
Football, you did something wrong, you ran a lap, all that, right? So running was a negative thing, but I always still liked running. So I was like, well, if that's the best bang for my buck. I was lifting a lot of weights, doing CrossFit style, high intensity workouts. And I thought I was pretty fit. I could last through workouts, no problem. Then I started running and 1 mile, and I was running all on concrete paths, bike paths, from my place when I lived in Colorado. Was doing that, gradually was working up, and
What time frame
I
was this? Like what year? 2010. Okay.
to the, it was probably a little bit of 2009 also. Um, Probably the end of 2009. I would say going into the fall of 2009, I was running. Then I guess, yeah. Then I remember for that Thanksgiving in 2009. Um, I went to the indoor track at the gym and ran like, I don't know, 8 miles or something. I wanted to eat a lot of food that day, so I was like trying to get big, huge caloric deficit. So I was trying to see how many calories I could burn that morning and see if I could eat that back in the day for
Mm.
Thanksgiving. So it was definitely 2009 when I did a lot of indoor running at that point. 2010, a lot of treadmill stuff, a lot of treadmill workouts. Then as soon as the snow started melting, I was getting out there and I was progressing pretty quick. I had a good bout of shin splints, and that was from the treadmill, putting the treadmill on crazy inclines and trying to run. I didn't know anything. My shins weren't ready for it. Now we know as runners, if you do a lot of uphill running and you're running at a good clip, your Achilles can't take it, then calves, all the other stuff leads to shin splints. Well, I had them so bad, like the sheets on my shins would hurt at night when I was sleeping.
Wow.
Yeah, and talking with my instructor again, he's like, "Yeah, I've been through that." He was told me to do the rice thing, ice, ibuprofen, raising them, compression, all that. So I kind of chilled out on the running a little bit, not as much volume, I would say. I don't know what I was running at these times. I wasn't keeping track. It was actually that fall of 2000. He was like, "Do you want to run 10 miles?" I was like, "That seems like really far." And he was training for Boston at the time because he got into Boston from someone paid a lot of money for him to go run. I don't know how that actually works. Someone paid his way into Boston. He didn't have to qualify or anything. So I don't know what it was. Maybe someone can comment on how you can buy your way into Boston.
Maybe charity or something.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I don't even know how. He just told me that one of his clients paid a lot of money for him to go run Boston. So I'm not quite sure. So he was training for Boston and he was like, let's go run 10 miles. And we got another classmate. And I remember running that first 10 miles. You don't know what you don't know, right? We're running all on road, a little bit of trail. And I think we ran that 10 miles in like 2 hours. So it was a pretty good clip.
Mm.
And I still remember as soon as we got in the door, I laid down on the floor and I couldn't get back up. I was in so much pain, rolled around on his floor for a while. And I'm like, I got to go home. It seems like when you get that double digit, your self confidence boosts up, right? Then you're like, well, what's the next progression? 13 miles, half marathon, just those numbers. I don't know why those numbers hang out there for some of us, but they do. So I was like, well, the next one's going to be 13. Then, I got up to like 15 miles on the concrete type of thing. And then fast forward to 2011. I was still running throughout 2010, and I was working for the college at this point as a adjunct instructor for the personal training class, and I ran the gym. So the gym was open to all the students of it and all the faculty. Then they were actually the faculty and the students are all able to bring their family members in, and the students that were in the personal training class would give them free personal training. Just something like internship, try to get them going with world stuff. So I was managing that. Another thing that I picked up was in Colorado at that time, the police academy had to have 24 hours of PT time. And the police academy was through the community college, and it depended how fast you wanted to get through the police academy. The full time was like 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. Then the part time was, it was about half that, and it took almost 2 years to get through that one. The full time was, I want to say, right around 8 months. So, anyways, the guy that ran all the programs was like, "Hey, you guys got to create a PT program for the police academy." So we created that. Then there was more than one police academy that was running at a time there. So we started working with the police academy. It was 3 sessions a week with different police academies. So I got a lot of experience working with people that were trying to be better, and I had to pass a test, right? With your testing you have to do every year. The police academy, once you become going into whatever police department or sheriff office or whatever, you got to pass their PT test, and they're kind of
Yeah.
different. Most of them have a 1.5 mile run. That's kind of like the standard. So we did all that stuff, the 1.5 mile, push ups, sit ups, all the normal stuff. Got a lot of experience with that. Then the fire academy, the state said they got to get 24 hours of PT, which, Justin, with firefighting, those guys really don't need PT because they're doing crazy shit in the first place. How much does your bunker gear weigh?
Total about 70.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're doing stuff like that, going up and down the tower, carrying the hose, pulling the hose, all that stuff. The listeners might not know, but it's pretty physical demanding compared to the police academy where they're learning arrest, takedown stuff, a little bit of jujitsu, stuff like that. But they're not doing a lot of like physical moving stuff.
Uh-huh.
So they told me design the police academy or the fire academy and run the fire academy. So I quit the police academy stuff. Then I designed the fire academy and started working with the fire academy. And that was depending once to 2 to 3 times a week. And the cool part with that is I actually got to go to their training facility where they had a tower. They have the connexes where they simulated rooms. They had couches and stuff in there and blacked out, and they could pump smoke into them. And so I was like, it was a dream. I got to design programs around those pieces that I could do stuff with. Had the tower there, so many feet of hose. All the retired hose would just go to them. So I'd make them hook hoses together and drag hoses, and I would hide weird things in the connex and make them put their bunker gear on, and they have to call around, and they'd be in teams, and the first person to find that whatever item I hid, and they couldn't use any lights. They had to just get on their hands and knees and crawl around and find that stuff.
Yeah, search and rescue.
Yeah. And I was just like, I'm just trying to get these guys fit to pass the test. That was my goal, was for them to show up and have the confidence that I can smoke this test.
Yeah.
So during all that, the instructor had another friend that ran a martial arts academy. It was jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai, regular boxing, wrestling, and he wanted us to go in there and start working with the people that went to the gym with conditioning. So he wanted us to run a conditioning class once a week. And in trade, we got a pretty good discount on his gym where we could take jiu-jitsu. It was like one of those ones where you pay monthly and you could show up to as many classes as you wanted.
Yeah.
So I'm doing all that. And one day he's like, "Hey, we have a Tough Mudder team and we're down a few people. Do you want to join?" And at this time, that's kind of when like that those Spartan and Tough Mudder were kind of taking off, and I was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool.
This is still like 2010, 2011 timeframe, or
Yeah, this is 2010.
okay.
Sorry, 2010. And I
Yeah,
was
that
like,
boom
okay,
was happening in
yeah,
2010.
yeah, with
I
those,
remember where I was at when all that was going down.
yeah, and Tough Mudder was like big tours across the United States,
Yeah.
and the distance was 10 miles. It was a 10 miles, and it was at Beaver Creek in Colorado, which is a ski resort. And so they set up all the obstacles on the ski hill. You had to run uphill, all this stuff. And I was like, oh shit, well, I better start running on the trail. And then I just remember I just went to this place that I used to mountain bike and was like, okay, I'm going to start running. And I just fell in love. Like, went out one day, next day, next day, and was just going. Then I get to a point where I felt confident in running that Tough Mudder. I went out and we had a team, but you didn't have to stay with the team. So it was like a communitive time of all your team, right? So you didn't have to stay with your teammates, but at the very end, they added all the times up. Then that's where your team ended up. And we weren't
Yeah.
going to compete or anything. Well, I went out there and I did the course in under 2 hours. It was like 153 or something like that. And I, beat everyone in our team. And I was like, oh, it was kind of easy for me.
Mhm.
I was just like, oh, cool. Then I was like, huh, if that was easy, what's hard? Then I found a 50K. And it was a couple weeks after that. Um, yeah, after that Tough Mudder that I was like, well, if I can go out there and keeps throwing down sometimes, I'll sign up for 50K. Kind of pushed into winter and I never signed up. Then spring came. I kept trail running. Then spring came, then it was probably late. It was probably in May. And I said, if I can go run 15 miles in under 3 hours, I'm going to sign up for the 50K. Cause I started like really getting into ultra running and following all the fast people. And of course I wanted to be fast and I was looking at 50K times and respectable ones. And, you know, depending on the course, 4 to 5 hours is pretty respectable time for 50K on a
Yeah.
course with a lot of vert. So I told myself if I could, run that 15 miles under 3 hours, I could probably at least get under 6 hours for 50K. Went out there and got it, signed up, then continued training. And I was wearing, that was when the barefoot craze was out too. That's when Born to Run was out. And I was
Yeah.
wearing uh, Merrill Trail gloves with no socks,
Yep.
probably
Feeling every
pounding.
single rock on your on the trail.
Yeah, I was probably pounding 40, 50 miles a week with those. Um, and I was in my 30s, so I was still young and dumb, I feel at this point. And I had a family. I was working, full-time job on the aircraft, the helicopters. Then, the school was supposed to be part-time, but I was probably getting anywhere from 18 to 20 hours a week at the school.
Hmm.
Then I had my personal training business on top of that too. So then I was running. So 50K comes up first, like 15 miles. I killed it. And I stopped, went off a side trail, was just doing my thing, going to the bathroom. Then I tried to get back on the trail and I couldn't run. My hips were locking up, all that stuff. And I told my wife at the time to meet me at the last aid station with my daughter. And, I'd say hi and keep on moving. I wanted a Coke and something else. I don't remember what time I told him to be at that aid station, but I know I was like 4 hours late.
That's a true ultra runner right there.
Right. And
Making your crew wait 4 hours at an aid
I
station.
remember the look on their faces when I got up to them. It was like sure disgust and like the worry look, like, where the hell have you been? Why have
Yeah.
we been sitting here for so long?
Yeah.
And anyways, go through. And at that point, I had 6 miles left. It was all down this road, 6 miles to the finish. So I hung out there for a minute, and of course, I made the stupid move to sit down.
The old
Yeah.
chair of death.
Well, I actually sat on the tailgate of the car, of the
Okay.
SUV we had, so doesn't
Okay.
matter, still chair death. Sat there for probably, I don't know, 20 minutes and got up and I could barely walk. So I'm walking down the road and I look back and they're like slowly following me. And I'm like, just go, go, go. And some of you listeners might have heard this. This is that point where it took me 6 hours to walk 6 miles. Um, yep. The race director kept coming up and checking on me. I would walk maybe 20 yards and sit down on a rock. And this is another key moment of what sparked my motivation for ultra running too is I was probably maybe 2 miles from the finish and some of the 50 milers started passing me and they're flying. I mean, they're just absolutely flying. And I asked them, I said, are you guys 50 milers? And they're like, yeah, yeah, we're 50 milers. And I'm like, ask like, how are you guys running? They're like, oh, we're just out here having a good time. Then I'm just hobbling. Then I remember the first place girl, she was in the top 10. She was probably sixth or seventh place. She comes up next to me and says a few things. And I look over at her and she's like, you okay? And we had a few words. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, are you a 50 miler? She's like, yeah. Then she just blazed by. She's probably running like 7-minute mile on this road. And I'm like,
Wow.
of course, I'm super pity potty at this point.
Yeah,
Anyways,
getting
I get,
passed by 50 milers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I come down to the finish and it was funny because the finish was just in this road. There was no arch or nothing. There wasn't a piece of flower going across or anything. It was just, you just cross this road and you were done. And I get down there and the race director's got his truck parked there and people are screaming and yelling. And I'm like, who are they screaming and yelling for? I look behind me. There's no one behind me. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to run and I can't run. And I remember I got close and I watched this lady pull a chair out. I'm like, what is she doing? She puts the chair right in the middle of the road, and I get up there and she's like, sit down. She's like, congratulations. Then the race director came over and gave me my medal, and
DFL.
they all came over and surrounded me, and I was DFL.
Heck yeah. Oh my gosh. That is the best.
Yeah. Remember?
Woo!
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's a struggle bus right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Man.
because I think it was like 33 miles for that one. I can't remember. I know it was over 31. Anyways, so I remember going back to the place we were staying, and like I can't get my shoes off. My feet are so swollen. Get in the bathtub. I couldn't even eat. I was just in bad shape. Wake up the next day, go to the awards ceremony, and they people are making pancakes, and like I can't even get up to get pancakes. Everyone's got to bring me food, and so they're giving the awards for the 50 milers, and
I just can't, man. I'm sorry. I can't.
I,
It's too funny.
I know. And so like they were giving the awards, and I remember this guy, and he was in like second or third for the 50, and he just like jumps up and runs up there and grabs his medal. I'm like, what the fuck? You just ran 50 miles and you can still run today? And he looks at me and he just kind of gave me a weird look. I'm like, congratulations. And we leave. And then I find out who these guys are, and they were part of CRUD. And I joined their club. Colorado was running ultra distances, great group in Colorado Springs. I joined their club and I was like, I got to pick these guys' brains. Then I decided to run 100K. So that wasn't the smartest thing. That was double the distance, right? So whatever. Fast forward, I'd run a bunch of races. I was, doing fat ass runs with the groups in the right after Thanksgiving. They go to May, so there was one a month. So, if you could imagine running an ultra every month through the winter, and I did that 2 years in a row with the group. Then I decided I was going to run 100, and that's when I got a coach. 2014. Um,
When did you get wrapped with the human potential?
I started hanging out with Human Potential. That was 2012 ish.
Okay.
So I guess it was a year later. That's when I started running with those guys. Then that's when they had those fat asses every month
Yeah.
from November to May. The next year I did the same thing. Then they would have big group runs all the time. Then they would do a couple of little vacations where you would go to some destination and run. I did Bryce Canyon with them. Then some other groups I ran with, we would do. There's Pawnee Buchanan Loop up out of Boulder. The Four Loop Pass. We had a big group when did that. That's the famous one that right out of Aspen. There, you go over 4 passes that are 12,000 feet. So I was just a lot of connection with a lot of ultra runners, and it was just at that point it was picking up traction. Everyone was like just getting into it. So we were all kind of learning at the same time. The
Mhm.
groups I was with, which was cool. So we got to share all that together. Then ran my first 100. It was perfect. Couldn't ask for a better race.
What 100 was that?
Zion 100.
Oh, okay.
Ran that. Then that's when a few things started to start collapsing. Like 2 weeks after I finished that, that's when my ex left me. I was riding that high. I finished 100 miles. I come home and she's gone. Right. So
Uh,
it's like 100-mile high. I'm still recovering to low, some of the lowest points of my life when that happened. But I was able to like continue to run through that because I had a lot of friends and a lot of connections, and I was able to just go out and run. And that year was probably my biggest year of going to different races and helping people. I ran Zion 100. Then it was, oh, that was in April. So I think it was May. I signed up for the Hemez 50 miler, which if you haven't heard of Hemez, this is the handmade pottery they give you for
oh, that's
finishing that
cool.
race. It's in New Mexico. Super fun race, like old school, total traditional grassroots. I was running the 50 miler, then they give you get to the sign, and it's kind of funny. It was like, if you're not feeling the 50 miler, you can drop and do the 50K. So it just kind of loops you back down and takes you back to the finish. And I was like, I'm not feeling
Wow.
it. So I went back and just did the 50K. And that was the year that they had a huge blizzard come in and had to rescue a bunch of runners off the mountain. Like, it was pretty bad news. A lot of people were getting hypothermic. It wasn't supposed to snow or anything, and of course, no one had any gear, right? So they're in their shorts and tank tops, and there's a bunch of snow, and you can't
Yeah, May
see.
in New Mexico, you would think that you're not gonna get a blizzard.
Yeah, it was, and even the race directors like this, once in a lifetime things. Did that. Then I was just, continually to go out and run, figure out my life with the divorce. Just kept running when I could. That was the same year. The first year I went to Bighorn, I paced a friend at Bighorn that year. Got to run from Dry Fork from Jaws to Dry Fork with him, so 30 miles there.
Mhm.
Then after that, I had another friend that was doing Leadville, and I had gone to Leadville the year before, and it might have even been the year before that. I went to Leadville just to spectate. One of the pacers got hurt on a shakeout run, so he couldn't pace. So they called me up, and I went up there and paced. And the guy's goal was to get under 24 hours. He's a fast runner, so I got to pace him 6 miles from Twins to, I can't remember the name of that aid station. Anyways, that was kind of fun because he was up there in the front, and I watched him get passed by a bunch of elites, and I'm just laughing the whole time because he's throwing up on the side of the trail, and I'm like, dude, if you want to keep doing this, you gotta do something. Uh,
Yeah.
anyways, he did go sub 24 that year. I think he finished in like 22. He finally got it together. Um, so then after Leadville that year, I Um, got to the guy that got hurt at was pacing at Leadville was running the bear, and there was another guy from his friend group from Phoenix, and they both needed pacers, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to do double duty? You want to run 31 to 50, then 50 to 75 at bear?" I'm like, "Yeah." So got to go pace those guys at the bear. That was really cool too because picked up 31, ran the 50 miles. Then the other guy was pretty far behind, so I got to hang out at the 50-mile mark, aid station for I don't know 2 or 3 hours, and a bunch of friends I'd made over the years past of running were running that year, and I got to hang out with them and help them out. And then
Nice.
got to run with him to mile 75. A week after that, I flew to Utah and ran the North Face 50 miler with the girl that I was training to run her first 50. So she signed up, and I said, if you sign up, I'll run it with you. So get back from the bear. I got back from bear on Monday. On Friday, I was on an airplane to Utah to go run. So
Wow.
I was living that life, you know. It
Yeah,
was
you were at every single race.
yeah, I was at every single race, and there's some races I know I went and spectated a quad rock that year. North, I'm sure there was other races that I would just go. I would go get on the course and take pictures, and cheer on my friends running by because I knew most of the courses and I knew where I could get on the course with not running on the course, taking some side trails. So
Yeah.
great
Do
year.
you think that you substituted your family life that you had been living, you replaced it with all these running adventures?
Yeah, yeah, and I always say I got the ultra divorce because the reason why she left was because I was running too much. There was more to that. I was working all those jobs. Then when I did have free time, I was out on the trail Saturday and Sunday for 6 to 8 hours. Right.
Yeah.
Then if there was a big group run on the weekend, I might be gone, 12, 14 hours running. And it was kind of weird that, that was the reason of the divorce. Of course, there was more to it than just that. Then luckily, and it was, luckily I say this, that I had all this stuff going on for that summer to carry me through. 2015 came and I had a bunch of goals. Um, I was going to do this route in Utah. It's called Millwood. It's, you don't, it's just a trail in the Wasatch Front, 100 miles. It's like a 40,000 feet of gain and descent. It's not a race. At that point, I think only 3 people had finished it. Um, Jared Campbell designed it. Jared Campbell is a Barkley finisher, lives in Utah. He designed the course. Um, my coach at the time was willing to set up a bunch of people and go cruise, so I was training for that. And then I started feeling that burnout of all that stuff that I didn't deal with that last year, hitting me that year in 2015. And that's when I kind of fell out of running with a little bit. I was dating a girl that was an ultra runner, and we would go do fun runs and stuff like that. My daughter was a big part of my life then, so I had her 3 on 3 off. So if I had her on the weekend, I really couldn't run, right? So that kind of took a toll. Then in 2016, I just told myself just to go out and have fun, just go adventure, go do the things I loved in the mountains. That year, I went to Hard Rock and was spectating. I went to a bunch of other races, just spectate. I went to Leadville that year. I did a bunch of dirt bagging, living out of my truck. I got like a huge connection of friends. I was hanging out with all those guys. That's where I met Tony Russ. We were spending a lot of times, just living out of our cars. Luckily, my work was willing to put up with me taking all that time off and going live live in the mountains. So at that point, racing wasn't important anymore. Giving back to the community, helping at races, all that is what I I thought and I needed to do was give back to the community for that year in 2015, where I took up a bunch of people's time running all those races. So I got really comfortable with that, made, like I was saying, all those friends and probably some. bad habits started taking place there where, a lot of drinking, a lot of getting high, a lot of just stuff to numb the pain because it was all catching up.
Yeah.
At that point, I had broke up with the girl that I was with. That was another thing. I was, I tried to attempt Nolans with no training, which that was just stupid, like 100 miles
Yeah.
of 14 peaks, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it was still part of the adventure. Then it was just a lot of drinking and a lot of spending time in the mountains, a lot of hungover runs, that. And after the breakup with that girl, like it got a little toxic, and I just had to step away from all my running friends.
Hmm.
I couldn't be surrounded by them anymore because she was either there or she was gossiping about whatever, right? Me, other people. It was just bad. So I just disappeared, really. 2017, I disappeared.
And this is where you really got heavy into marijuana and alcohol.
Yep,
And that was that
2017.
was that was essentially, you had running that you had replaced your family with, and then once you burned out from running, then that was replaced with alcohol.
Yep, exactly. Yep,
Yeah, okay.
and I was still spending a lot of times in the mountains, though, but I wasn't the reason I was in the mountains was to drink and get high. I'd maybe go for a 4-mile hike or run, but my thing is to wake up, drink some coffee, get high, go for my run, then try to be back from my run around noon and just start drinking and drink till I passed out. And I was doing this pretty much all alone. My dog was there, but it was all alone.
Now, did you still have a job here, or
Yep, I still had a job, still working at the same place. I wasn't doing any of the college stuff anymore because that kind of after the divorce, I had to just kind of step away because I had my daughter so much. The 3 on 3 off, I just kind of fizzled out with that. I wasn't doing any personal training. I was doing run coaching with those clients I was talking about, just internet, the same kind of stuff I do now, online coaching. So I had quite a few clients, but they were all coming up. That one girl went up to the 50 miler. I had other ones who were just going up to marathon. Some that were just trying to get to a 5K, 10K. So it wasn't, that wasn't a lot of my time coaching those people. Um, then, yeah, 17, a lot of times in the mountains was just drinking. And I would still go to races though, because I would tell myself, well, at least if I can go show up and I would know people there, right?
yeah.
I wouldn't sit alone. Once I met up with a group of people, I knew that we could go drink and go get high. And I would have someone there to hang out with and not feel so lonely. 18, same type of thing. Then it was probably about halfway through 18. I messaged my family and a friend. I'm like, hey, I'm in really bad shape. And they didn't know where I was at because I could just put the show on and they had no clue what was going on. So I told them, and I was like, I'm not in a good place. This is what I need to do. This is what I'm going to do. Um, and the funny part of it was about it was I wasn't taking away the numbing. I wasn't taking away the weed or the alcohol. It was doing the stuff I was listening on podcasts or in books, all the guru stuff of, hey, if you do this and you get a routine of doing this, your life will get better. And at that time, remember, it was all the biohacking and all that stuff was pretty big. So
Yeah.
it was everywhere. Right? Everyone telling you what to do, how to become a better person of health, not
Hmm.
mentally, if that makes sense. It was all about, getting fitter and cold showers and all that stuff. So I was doing that stuff, and it helped a little bit. Then it was 2018 late. Um, I still had my coach at this time too, and so he was still giving me stuff to do. So I was still running anywhere from 40 to 50 miles a week, but I don't really remember any of that. I was just running to run. I don't really remember. I would train for some stuff, then I would fall apart or whatever. Then At one point, I just told him, just keep me running.
Mhm.
Just keep me running. Just give me workouts and miles to keep me running, to keep my mind off this. And he did that. And that's what I was paying him to do. So, um, I remember in 18, I was talking with him. I said, I need to do another 100. And he goes, okay. And we started going through all the hundreds. He was going through the hundreds with me, and we were like looking for one and trying to figure out where I could fit one in with my daughter, my work, and all that. And he had all these.
What was the significance of 100?
That's a good question. To be honest, I don't know. I think it was. I knew that journey would take me somewhere. I think it was more of the journey than the mileage of the race. I
Yeah,
knew if I signed up for 100, that I know 6 months of my life I would clean up. I
yeah.
would do something with my life.
You would take it serious.
I would take it serious to get that. I use it as a destination type thing, whereas hold myself accountable. My coach would hold myself accountable because then he would say, hey, if you want to finish this 100 miler, you got to do this, right? I couldn't hold myself accountable. My family couldn't hold me accountable. So I kind of lean that way. Then, you know, I was struggling with finding a 100 miler, and I signed up for Quad Rock because Quad Rock 50 miler is super hard. It used to be harder to sign up for. So I remember in December it opened up. I put my name in the hat. I'm like, okay, I got this one, right? I got this 50 miler in May. Now let's try to find a 100 miler in July or August. That was my thought process. And I'm looking and looking, and my coach was like, I know you want to run a mountain 100 miler. And he goes, there's Scout Mountain. He goes, I know Luke. I know what the course is like. This is an awesome course. I've ran some of it. I was like, well, that's 2 weeks after Quad Rock. He goes, who fucking cares? And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, do you think I can recover in time? And I still remember this. He goes, you don't know if you don't try. And I took that to heart. I was like, really? And he motivated me. So then I just remember January 1st, I quit smoking, I quit drinking. I ate really clean. That's when I went all carnivore. I was only eating meat. I was running every single day. I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go run and all those things. And, I hit Scout Mountain, had another 100 mile that was just flawless. I probably didn't give it my full effort. I don't think, looking back. I was saving myself. Learned a lot about myself. Then I continued the path of being pretty strict. Friend at the time, he signed up for High Lonesome, and he's like, hey, I want you to pace me, the last 30-ish miles at High Lonesome. I'm like, cool. High Lonesome one was July. Uh, Scout was 1st of June. Well, I didn't really run much then, so I was just like, but I was still doing the good things, right? I wasn't drinking, wasn't getting high, doing all the stuff, and ran with him.
What was the big difference in that you noticed from, like a body standpoint? I mean, mental clarity had to be a lot better, not getting high and drunk every day, but from a body standpoint, like your health-wise, it had to have felt much, much better.
I was I was like a new runner every time I'd go out, and if I had a workout, I'd have one workout a week, and it was usually on a Wednesday, and it was mile repeats.
Mhm,
And this is when I knew stuff was changing. Uh, it was mile warm up, 8 miles of mile repeats.
mhm.
So every time, the goal was to do about 15 seconds faster every time around. Uh, I was like, screw it, I'm going to go 30 seconds. So I'd figure out that, and then by, the eighth mile, I was down in the low sixes. A couple times I got in the fives, high fives, and then I would run home. And I was like on cloud nine. Like my training was perfect. I remember my last big run before Scout. It's Gold Hill. If you guys watch David Roach, he actually ran up there and did the same exact workout I probably did. Run up, then run down as fast as you can. It's 10 miles up, 10 miles down. Killed it. I mean, then I believe the day before I had like a 12 miler. Then that next day I did that 20 mile. Then I kind of, I wouldn't say taper, but I was going down a little bit in volume. So I was feeling on cloud nine. It was like
Mhm.
probably the best training cycle I ever had. Just, and I'll get to this a little later in the story because now I can look back and understand where I was at. Um, I did a few things. I got on the bike a lot after that. I bought a bike packing bike, and then my plan was to go bike packing uh, in 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. Um, that just really kind of threw everything for a loop. So what I did was I got in my truck and I went and visited all the places I'd never been in Colorado. But the caveat is I started drinking and getting high again. So I fell right back into that same cycle. And this time I went a little deeper.
What do you think was the driving force of you getting turning back into drinking and smoking?
I, I quit the job that I had for 12 years, moved to another job. And right. And I don't probably never told this story before here. When I quit that job, I put my 2 weeks in, was going to the new job. I was in aviation, so I got random drug tested all the time. And I was a supervisor, so at that point, I would know who was getting drug tested. And they do a percentage of people on your crew that are going to get drug tested. And I didn't have the percentage of people, so I knew it was me. So I told my boss at the time, like, "Hey, I put my 2 weeks in. If it comes, I'm not taking this drug test." And well, the day before my last day, they came and tried to make me take a drug test. And I took the breathalyzer because I hadn't been drinking. And I used some fake fucking pee for the piss test, and they caught me, and I walked out.
Huh.
You probably haven't even heard this,
Mm-mm. The first time.
and it's not a secret. It's it's what it was. So I left the job, and they fired me with a day left. They fired me because I denied a piss test. Then if fail a piss test with the FAA, it's a whole big thing. It was weird because it was COVID. I got my letter and I never heard back from them. So
Hmm.
I don't know whatever happened on that side of that. The new job I went to, they didn't drug test, so there was no problem there. It wasn't a big deal, and that was that turning point. I was so angry that job that I worked 12 years for would make me go do a P test with a day left on the job. I was so angry. The only way I knew to numb the pain was to go get high and drunk. So
Do you
that's
think
what
you put your 2 weeks notice in so you could continue to smoke and drink?
that was part of it. There was some
Okay.
of it there because I knew this new job wouldn't drug test. And I'd been playing that drug testing game for 12 years and actually longer than that. I was there 12 years. So it was almost 17 years I'd played the drug testing game. Just, cheat my way out of it. And there was a lot of stress that came with that. Integrity was a big one, knowing that I was always going to have to look out because the substance I wanted to use would get me fired from my job and my career.
Mhm.
Yeah, starting that new job was all good. Came in with open arms. It was a blessing. They paid me more money, treated me way better, had way more benefits, which, it was kind of weird. Like I just left this in a bad place and went to this new place. And then COVID happened. So yeah, I just was in a really bad place with COVID. All those races that I was planning on doing got canceled. I was angry at the world, angry at myself for what I did to myself for the last years, angry that I couldn't make a marriage last. It was just like a culmination of a whole bunch of shit. And that was the year I decided that I was sick of traveling back and forth to be with my daughter and that I was going to move to Rapid City. I needed a fresh start,
Mhm.
but I knew I needed to give myself enough time to, you know, get everything settled and be able to move. So I told myself in 2021, figure out a day and time and move. 2020 went through COVID, just kept drinking, smoking. Uh, like I said, it got worse and worse. My new job was, as soon as we'd get off work, if I didn't have my daughter, we were at the bar. And at that point in time, Colorado was, you know, recreational was legal. You could smoke at the bars, you could smoke outside. So all I'd do was get high and drunk to the point where we'd close the bar down, wake up, be so hungover that we needed to go back to the bar and start drinking again. and that was the game I played until October of 2021. And my goal was to move the first week in November to Rapid City. So then Sober October came, and Joe Rogan was, been doing Sober October for years. I'm like, well, I'm going to do Sober October.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it, sold all my shit that I had in Colorado, packed up and moved to Rapid City. I was sober for quite a while here in Rapid City. And then, one day I was like, well, I'm going to get high. Then, you open that door and you peek in there a little bit. Next thing
Yep.
you know, that door's wide open and you're back too. And for the cycle with me and a lot of other addicts is every time we go back, we dig the hole a little deeper. Like we got to get a little more. We have to use a little more to numb the pain. Then that's when I met up with you guys, and I tried really hard not to drink at the bar or at the breweries.
We didn't
Then,
help the situation.
well,
It seemed like every run, and it got out of control. It did. I didn't realize it at the time, but then looking back, yeah, every single run was to a brewery. Or after the run, we went to a brewery, or we met up at a brewery, or yeah, it was a lot.
yeah. And like, this was me. I don't blame anyone else. This is my own doing. I could have done something about the situation, but now with what I know about myself, being a people pleaser, I needed something. I needed some kind of connection that I wasn't getting, that I didn't get from my father growing up. And running was there. Like I've surrounded myself with runners, and we would go for a run, then we'd go, and some of us would drink till the bar would close. And that fulfilled me. That made me happy. It brought all kinds of things that I missed growing up in my childhood. There was, love and caring and friendship, and I could give something and I could take something back. And it just kept going, right? I kept going and going and going. And I remember this point where when we went to what is it, Glacier? The one Glacier 50K? What's
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I did Indian Creek. Then the week after we went to, was it Glacier 50K?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Glacier Hills.
Glacier Hills, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We went there, and I was kind of just chilling because I ran 50 mile the week before, and I just remember the start of the race. I just started drinking. Everyone else was running. I just started drinking. Then I drove over into Iowa and was like, well, I'm gonna go get some beer in Iowa. Then I got uh, back to the finish, and didn't help that I had tons of kegs and everyone was drunk by the time I got back. So, anyways, kept drinking the whole time. The race finishes, and we go back to Sioux Falls and close every bar down. Woke up, made that shitty drive back, and the wind was blowing. I was so hungover. I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything.
That's a terrible drive back too.
Yeah. And then that week, I drank every single night. Went to the bar every night. Closed the bar every night with someone else. And it got to that weekend, and my birthday was through there. And, I got so drunk on my birthday, I blacked out. Don't even remember how I got home. All that stuff. Then, I quit that job at the water tree. Then I was working at that concrete place, and that went to shit. Then I quit there. Then my mom had just moved to Gillette, Wyoming. And I called her and she's like, just come down, hang out with me. I didn't have anything at that point. I was just like, whatever. And I was just in a place. I was in a bad place. Going and being with your mom, of course, is going to make things better. And I remember it was a Friday night. We were at this Mexican restaurant. I was like, I'm going to get a margarita. Let me go back a little bit. On that Sunday, I decided to quit smoking weed. So I hadn't smoked weed all week. I didn't have any. That Friday, I'm like, well, I've done good. I haven't smoked weed all week. I'll get a margarita. And I remember I shared that margarita with my mom, and I go, this is my last drink. And she looked at me and goes, what do you mean? I said, this is my last drink. And I made that conscious decision right then and there that I wasn't going to drink. I wasn't going to get high anymore. And I was going to let this journey take me wherever it was going to take me. I did it alone for a while. I was really ashamed. Um, like I didn't tell you. You found out from that post I put on Instagram. I think everyone found out from that post I put on Instagram. Uh, the shame there was just most people didn't even know I had a problem. I could hide shit well.
I mean, I didn't know, and we hung out all the time. I mean, we were running together, if not daily, every other day, for sure on the weekends. Like, we had already started the podcast at this point,
Yeah,
so we were spending time on the weekends, and I had no idea.
yeah,
I mean, I knew
and
you drank because we'd go to the brewery and have a beer. It's not like we were going to the bars. I
yeah,
at least wasn't going to the
no,
bars with you. I mean, I was going to a brewery and I'd have a beer with you, but that's the extent of what it was. And I had no idea. I mean, you hit it well. I mean, you came to my house, we had a couple beers at the house here and there, but
yeah,
that was the extent of it.
mm-hmm. And I was always high. Like I always had my pen with me, so I was always high.
Yeah, I remember
Uh,
you vaped, but those things are you have no idea.
yeah, you don't know if it's nicotine or if it's
Yeah.
yeah. So, um, yeah, there was a lot of shame there. I don't remember. I think it was. I don't remember how long. I could look back in my Instagram when I finally, and but that was a hard thing too to do. Was like finally come out and admit on social media that I have a problem. Uh, then I just kept going through the shit and got that job at Forest Products and just kept staying away from the cannabis and the alcohol, and found some connection with some other people that have addiction problem, which they pretty much saved everything because when you're in that spot, hanging out with people that don't share that with you is really hard to talk to. Like there's some guilt there and shame and some other stuff that's there. So finding them, then kind of fast forward here, it'll be 3 years in November, um, that I haven't consumed any alcohol or weed. What I've learned about myself is that trauma that I suffered as a kid with my father is a lot of the root of what led me to want to drink, and that was my outlet to get attention that I wanted that I didn't get from my dad because I knew if I went and drank and closed the bar down with someone, I would get the attention that I deserve. It's not healthy, right? It's just part of the
Yeah.
thing. And in the beginning, when I was running and working out all the time, I was doing that same thing. I just wasn't using as much. I was still, I hardly drank then. I was still getting high, but not that much. But I was running from the pain. And we hear this all the time that, a lot of endurance athletes have some kind of trauma and that's how they deal with it. And I don't know if I've talked about this. After I quit, I couldn't run. I would notice that I would go on those runs and I was doing the same exact thing as when I was using. I was using my running to numb the pain again,
Yeah,
but I was
I
conscious.
know we talked a little bit about that for sure, and I know when we've had sober athletes on the podcast, that's one of the main questions is you've asked them is, did you replace running with, or did you replace
Yep.
running your addictions?
Yeah. Cross addiction. And,
Yeah,
when we had Steve on there and he was talking about running with intent, that, because, Steve's sober too. I never thought about running with intent. It was just something I did, right? A lot of the things I do
hmm
was just something I did. But now, there's been a lot of hard days but now, fast forward, um, Cowboy will be good for me. I, I know where I'm at, um, in my head. I'm, I'm not using running as an outlet to run from my shit. I know I have to sit with my shit and deal with my shit and whatever I have to do to work that out, I'm working on, and it's exciting to me. And a lot of people will kind of cringe when I tell people that's exciting to me because I spent most of my adult life running from something, and what I've learned from ultra running is it's problem solving, and now I get to problem solve every day in my
yeah,
own in my own life, and I'm present and I know why I'm at that point in time, how I got there. I've learned enough with about myself and my tools that if I have that thought pop into my head, it's like, hey, fuckhead, stop. Like, hey, you know why you have this thought. What are you going to do about it? And it's usually something I need to do and take care of. Sometimes it comes down to paying a bill or taking out the trash. It sounds weird, but that's just kind of how my mind is. It's slowly getting rewired from running from away from everything to being present and dealing with the shit.
Yeah.
So, and my running suffered from it. But let me rephrase that. My running hasn't suffered from that because I'm still getting out there. I guess I'm comparing my running to my old self back in 2019, 2014. I'm comparing myself to that. And that's another thing is, comparison is just a thief. If I
Mhm.
sit back and compare myself to my old self, I'm just thieving myself. So that's why I'm excited about Cowboy because I've done some shorter runs. I'm willing to go test myself again. Get to hang out with you. We're going to share some miles. It's not going to be easy. I know that.
What do you mean share some miles? We're going to share all the miles. We're sharing the journey together.
Yes, we are. Sometimes another thing I've learned too is words have meaning, right?
Yeah.
And if you hold on to those words and don't do anything with those words, they're only what you do and what they mean to you. If I give these words to you, Justin, that means I am saying them out loud and they mean something. And you
Yeah.
take what you want with them. But I have given those words to you and I've given those words away from me. And when I listen to them come out of my mouth, that's where the real growth starts for me is listening to myself talk. Because for so long I would just I'd keep it in. And that's where it got me to where, because you probably, when we hung out, I probably never talked about any problems. I was always putting on a show like my life is so great, everything's good. Look at this, look at that.
Yeah.
But deep down inside, I was in a lot of pain, and that's what a lot of addicts do is they suffer for so long with that pain they just don't really get at hiding it. Um,
Well, I think that's an issue with men in general is it's hard to confide in someone your struggles.
yeah,
And a lot of times, even men can't talk to other men about the struggles that probably both of us have faced.
yep,
Your addictions aren't what I face, but I face issues as well.
yep,
And I may not understand your addictions and you may not understand my issues, but we can find common ground somewhere in there. And I feel that men themselves have a hard time talking to each other about each other's problems. And so, you coming on and telling your story, it means a lot to me. And I hope that the listeners also can resonate with it and appreciate how hard it's been. And I know you've told your story on a few other podcasts, but I I I appreciate it. And to me, that shows a lot of strength in you to be able to be vulnerable and to share your story like that.
yeah. Thank you, I appreciate that because talking about it is the only way I can get it out there and heal from it. I'm good at moving forward, but every time I tell my story, I can open another little door and be grateful for what I have and where my daughter is living with me now. If I was not sober, that would have never happened. I would
Yeah.
have lost my shit when I found out my daughter had to come live with me, even though that's what I wanted the whole time when I moved here. I
Yeah.
moved here hoping one day my daughter would live with me. But my
Yeah.
addiction was so bad, if that would have happened, I would have not known what to do with myself.
And
So
look
it's
how
now
much
learning.
better of a life you're giving her for being sober.
Yeah. And we have those talks. She was younger, but she'll be like, "Do you remember this time?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I was really drunk." She's like, "Oh, okay, that's why you're acting so weird."
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Because she didn't know either, right?
Yeah.
She thought her dad that's how he was. Like, and it's sad that, drunken high dad is that's what she knew.
Yeah, that's what she
Now
remembers.
now she's learning me sober dad, and I'm learning who myself is sober, and I'm so grateful for where I've come and where I get to go, and being able to write chapter 2 the way I want to write chapter 2, because chapter 1 didn't end the way I want it to end. So I get to write chapter 2, and then once I get to chapter 3, it'll be something different, but it'll still be my story.
Yeah, I like that. One question I do have is, you everyone knows I race a lot, and you don't, and it seems like through your story that you associate a lot of your addictions from the races themselves. Like, you went out and you were pacing people and you were drinking afterwards and, smoking and and it seems like once you stopped racing, that is where your addiction started again. You would quit and start back, based off your training cycles. Now that you've been sober for almost 3 years, you're jumping into arguably probably one of the biggest races. Oh, it was the biggest race distance wise, but since your sober journey, you haven't ran a big race.
No.
Do you think that this may spark your love running Cowboy, spark your love for running races again?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the kickstart that I want to get back into of, you know, I, the sober me, the present me. I wouldn't say the new me because that's still work, but I could say the new me in running, because I kind of had to draw that line in the sand with my running too. All that association in the past was a lot of blurriness and drunken nights and mixed with running. Now I get to go and, do Cowboy sober and really see what it's like. I mean, I did scout sober and I was sober after that, but I went back to it, right? And I went even deeper. So now this is a fresh start, and I wanted to show me that I can get back to the sport that I love and we talk about every week. And I love hearing stories, and I love to be a part of it. And it's going to be the growth I need to move forward. It's going to be
Yeah.
a totally different me at these races now. And you probably saw when we were at Bighorn that one time. I was a little lost, right? I was sober then when we were there for. Oh, and I was going to pace Alex.
Yeah.
I couldn't really like be around because those demons were fighting hard, and I wouldn't say that I was wanting to get drunk or high, but I didn't know how to act.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to talk to people. I'm still learning that when you have to interact with people that you associated with your addiction and now you're not, it's really hard. And it's
Hmm.
not anything on those people. It has nothing to do with those people. I just want to get that out there. It has nothing to do with you guys. It has to do everything with me. It's me learning who I am now. And I got to figure out a way to be able to talk to you guys how I am now. I hear this, sometimes too. It's like I had to distance myself. I had to do my thing. It wasn't they did something wrong or anything. It was me going, holy shit, back up, stop. And the only way I could do it was disconnecting. And that's
Yeah.
a lot of ways addicts have to do it is you have to stop what's triggering you or the people you hang out with. So I don't want those people to think that it was them. It
Yeah.
was never them. It was always me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. I never meant for any of that to be that way. It still gets a little weird, but hey, I'm a grown ass man. I can deal with it.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate your story, and I've heard bits and pieces here and there, and then talking offline with you. But you've encouraged me, and now that I'm a father, in November I decided I was going to be sober, and you encouraged me to go through with it. Your story, like all the crap that you dealt with, and I never really, I don't think that I had a problem with it. I could go weeks and weeks without even having a drink. I could have beer in the fridge and it never get drank. I still have bottles of bourbon in my house, so it's like I don't feel like I had a problem. I just didn't want to raise my daughter with alcohol around. And I wanted her to have all of me, not, oh, dad's having a few beers with his buddies and, then he's going to be however, dad with a few beers is, as opposed to sober dad. So thank you for being that encouragement to me, and so, my daughter will be raised sober. Oh, she's gonna be raised sober, of
Yeah,
course, but
yeah. No, I
I'm gonna
totally.
be raising her sober, and I appreciate that encouragement and yeah.
I didn't. This is something new. I didn't know this. I'm super proud of you, man.
Oh, I thought we had talked about it.
No, no, it's the first
I
time
swear
hearing
we
it.
did. I swear we
No,
did because I've been drinking
no.
all the NAs.
Well, you never told me, but it's okay. You were just like, I'm just drinking NAs, so I was
Uh,
just thought you were drinking NAs. But it doesn't matter.
no,
It
I
doesn't matter.
I
It
quit.
doesn't matter.
Well, my bad, dude. Well, you're the one who encouraged me to do it, so I was just
Uh,
like,
uh,
just through your story, but yeah,
yeah, no, you did it on your own.
yeah, November 15th, that was the last time I had a drink, so
Our
I don't
sober
know
dates are right by each
how
other.
many. Yeah, I know. I actually have your sober date saved in my phone, so I can tell you, hey, congrats on another year. So that's
I'm super proud of you,
yeah,
man. I did.
I
That makes me
appreciate it.
happy.
Appreciate it. So hey, let people know some avenues if somebody's struggling and they want to reach out. I know you found a really good group of individuals that you work your addiction through, but if somebody is struggling and they want to reach out to you or want to reach out to somebody, what are some avenues that they can reach out to?
Reach out if you want to talk. Just you can send me a message on IG, Instagram, and I can direct you a lot of different places. Through the Glass is a great podcast. It's all about recovery, addiction. They have a Monday meeting that it's free. You can attend that. I can give you the information there. The biggest thing though, I can tell people, if you're really on the fence, and first of all, you got to do it for yourself. No one can force you. It's going to be a struggle, but it gets better once you learn some tools and all that stuff. It definitely gets a lot better. You can find some joy in your life again, because a lot of times we numb that out. Just reach out to me and send me a message on IG, or the hardest part is going to be reaching out. First step is just going to be reaching out. It's going to be the toughest part. No judgment. You don't have to worry about that. I'm here living through it. And if you need some more connection, I can get you all the connection you need through groups that I know, and people I know will welcome you with open arms. There doesn't have to be any crazy rock bottom. There doesn't have to be any of that stuff. Just vulnerability and looking to stop the same cycle that you're going through.
And where share your handle with everyone so they know.
I'm gonna have to look it up because
I think it's Runs Hills 605.
yeah, I'm the worst with social media.
I'm the social media guy. Robbie's
Yeah,
really good at YouTube. And if you like this podcast, please go on to YouTube and subscribe to it so you can look at our faces. You could boost our numbers. Robbie needs a cool little plaque in the back there
I
from
do.
YouTube. So
Yeah, subscribe, leave comments. YouTube algorithm's crazy. It's all based on comments now.
it's weird.
So yeah. But
Crazy.
yeah, my handle on Instagram is runshills605. I
Wow.
will put that in
Spot
the show
on.
notes, even though I don't like to do that for myself, but I will put that in the show notes. And I will leave my email address in the show notes.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. I'm
Maybe they
going
should
out.
just email the Golden Hour Adventures 1@gmail.com.
Could do that too. No, thanks, Justin, for letting me get my story out there. It always feels good to talk about it. And
Yeah, it was a long time coming. It should have happened a long time ago. So I'm glad that we had the space and you were willing to share.
yeah, of course. Open book.
Well, as always, if you like the podcast, please like, subscribe, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, no matter the platform. We talked about it earlier. Leave us 5 stars, leave us a review. And as always, we'll see you on the trails.